Hello, crypto friends. Before I get into the details here, as we have a wildly active day yet again, on Monday I'm going to be doing a live webinar, and I want to go over things like GDAX and placing orders and limit orders and market orders and how I do my trading, what you can derive from the time and sales information, just some basic stuff in that space. And we'll answer any questions as well as go over at the end, if there's time, tickers or I should say, the smaller cryptos that I don't usually chart. I'll look at some of those. It will be recorded and it will be up on the YouTube afterwards. But if you want to comment in on when would be ideal for you, and I'll see what the majority say, Eastern time, and we'll take it from there. So here today, I believe our temporary top is in, and it's a very similar candlestick to the last time that we felt the temporary top was in, and was a very, very strong recovery. So it's nice that we have something to be comparing it to. And I'll look at that in just a moment, but there are some differences where I do believe we are going to consolidate for now. And that's going to change my trading style. I was trading a lot differently on the way up, and if we're pulling back, it's going to have to take a lot more quick moves, and I'll show you a little bit different strategy that I will be taking. So this is a bearish reversal candlestick with a big upper wick of profit taking. It's pretty similar to the last one that we had, although the real body of the candlestick is red, which means this was the open of the day and this was the close. And in the opposite scenario, we had this as the open and this is the close. So a little bit worse here. Also the volume. Note the volume. Volume climaxes often signal the top of an uptrend and the bottom of a downtrend. Last time we had a volume climax back here, we consolidated sideways for 3 days. We didn't even pull back. We just consolidated sideways, but it did indicate that the bulls had exhausted themselves to the upside. Think of it like a climax. It's a volume climax. It's the last push by the bulls. Last push for now, I should say. Who knows what's going to happen in a month or whatever, but for right now, it is a volume climax, and we had one on the last one as well. Volume climax, highest volume we had seen at that point, and then we consolidated very briefly before the bulls showing up. But again, I do believe the consolidation is more drawn out now. So this is exactly what I was talking about in all my videos where I was saying, I'm comfortable trading this space. I am not comfortable holding this space. If you were holding this Bitcoin and you were not at your computer, in 3 hours, we went from 2,800 down to 2,200, and we bounced around since then. But that is way too big of a loss that I want to expose myself to. So I am only trading when I'm at my computer, and I'm actually slightly grateful that I might get some sleep tonight with this cooling off. Although I came inside, I'll point this trade out. Came inside to get a phone number, saw that Bitcoin was doing this other leg to the downside, and was able to get a nice trade. So let's look at the 5-minute time frame and what I was looking at for this trade. And I actually was in bullish first, and this is a good example of trade management. So we had a clear resistance level up here where we topped out, and there was a little double top, and I was in a position right here on this candlestick because we had our high, we pulled back and set our low, our lower high, higher low, and then we got our little higher high by getting above this range. So I wanted to get in here to see if the bulls could break above this resistance, because if we did, there was a nice room to the upside. This is the next resistance that I'd be looking to, the high of this green candlestick, and that was plenty of room that I would be making some nice profit. So I wanted to give myself that opportunity. I got in on the trade, and then once we started topping out at the previous resistance at 25.92, and then we got to 25.90 and topped out a little bit, started to get cautious, and I obviously didn't want to get caught in a dump again, and I drew this little uptrend line just to see the range tightening, and you could see we were just bouncing off of this uptrend line, forming these higher lows, rejected, and I exited on this candle right here, and I took a loss, and I'm perfectly fine taking a loss. You can tell a good trader not by how big their wins are, but by how small their losses are. If you can cut loose, exit your trade as soon as something goes wrong, you're going to come out on top more often than not, because you're going to be able to let your winners ride, and as soon as your losers give you the signal, you get out. So I was able to get out right here at a small loss compared to the profits that we've been seeing, and then we started pulling back, and in the chat room I was saying, heads up, bear break on Bitcoin. And one thing that's occurring right now, when volatility picks up in markets, and obviously we have a huge volatility, correlation picks up as well. And you see this in the stock market all the time. The S&P 500 is tracked by a ticker called SPY, and I will always watch SPY throughout the entire day. If I'm looking at Facebook, Apple, Google, doesn't matter the stock I'm looking at SPY because the correlations are there. And when there's big moves to the upside and big moves to the downside, high volatility, you can tell the algorithms and the computerized trading pick up, and they are linked together almost tick for tick. And we're seeing that now in this space as well. And Bitcoin is very clearly the lead indicator. If you are trading Ethereum, you need to be watching Bitcoin. If you're trading Litecoin, you need to be watching Bitcoin. Bitcoin has given me multiple clues when I'm in the other positions and it's about sometimes it's only a 20-30 second heads up, but it does happen. And here was an example where we got this bear break. I posted, heads up, we got a bear break, and then shortly after we saw, and I mean very shortly after, but it was a bit of a heads up, the bear break here happened on Ethereum and we dumped. So I got the heads up from Bitcoin. I exited my position for a loss. Obviously, I'd rather take a win, but I took that loss, and then I saw the dump here. I actually went inside, did some things, came back out, had to grab a phone number, and I saw, oh, we're really oversold at this point, and I want to play this bounce. So this is a little bear flag. When you see a dump and then a weak bounce attempt and then continuation to the downside, a bear flag is a continuation pattern, and that's what that is there. Maybe we can get a little better view on the 2-minute time frame of what that looks like. It's just this little weak. You can draw a parallel support and resistance little channel. That's part of the definition of that pattern. So there's our parallel channel where we saw a weak bounce attempt and continuation to the downside. So that little weak bounce attempt was a fake out because at that point the RSI was already below 30. So as we know, these RSI below 30 levels are really good for oversold short-term quick flips, or really good for entries and then trying to let it ride. So we saw a fake out and then continuation to the downside. So I came in when the continuation to the downside was already happening, and the RSI was down around 20, and that has not happened often. So I was confident getting into a position, looking for an oversold bounce, and looking to just flip it, and looking to make back what I lost up here and more. And I did so. When I do so, I scale into a position. I'm not trying to catch the bottom. What I will often do is break my position into 4 lots, and I will place limits on the way down. So here on the way down, we had, let's see, I placed so just pulling up my orders here, I placed them on the way down. A quarter of my position was at 23.56. So here we are. Let's see, 23.56. My first position was a little high. I got it up here, right here on this candlestick. So 23.56. Then my next position, as it continued to drop, I scaled in at 23.50. So that was down here. Then the next one I scaled in at 23.33. So that was all the way down here. And then the next one I got in at 23.09, and that was down right about there. So I'm not trying to nail the bottom. You don't want to, I mean, you obviously want to, but you're never going to make a perfect trade. You're never going to buy the bottom and sell the top. And I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to get my little scalp, get my 2 to 3% move, and get out. I don't care if it keeps going up. My goal is to hit that 2-3%, be out, and go about my way, be done with it, and find another trade later. And so that ended up, obviously I didn't get the bottom. We dropped all the way down to 22.68. But I was comfortable because I was averaging down my position. I knew the RSI was extremely oversold, and I was looking for a bounce to occur in the very short-term future. So that ended up playing out more than plenty of bounce there, and I scaled out the same way I scaled in with 4 positions. Sorry about that, just banged the mic. I scaled out with 4 positions on the way up, and those were I scaled my first one at 23.79, so that was up here, 23.79. The next one was at 23.99, up there. Next one, 24.15, right there. And the last one, just pulling up my thing here, it was at 24.45. So got it all the way up to there. So obviously made some profit. And that trade right there took my account 3%. So I played with my whole account, scaled in, scaled out, and now plus 3%. And it took about 5 minutes at most. So that is now my trading style. On this move that we're dropping here, we're pulling back, momentum is shifting. We're not going to see the same kind of trading style on the way up. It was very, very easy to trade on the way up. It's going to be harder on the way down. And I'm not shorting anything. I'm only playing bullish positions. So I am only looking for oversold bounces at this point or clear bullish breaks. So where we stand right now, we do have a higher low on the hourly. We've formed our dump low down at 22, make that 22.26, now a higher low at 22.68, and I expect to form a lower high and watch this equilibrium pattern and tightening range, and it will give us a clear break sometime tonight or early tomorrow morning, I assume. So I'll always look in, zoom into different time frames. Here's the 15-minute time frame, a little bit more clear. So if I wanted to draw my pattern a little bit, or my range, I should say, there's our lower high, here's our higher low, and now I'm going to look to form a lower high and higher low and continue this tightening pattern playing out. And again, I don't know which direction it's going to break. I don't care which direction it's going to break. I want to play the break and play momentum. So if I see a tightening pattern forming, I want to enter. Oftentimes, another one of my styles is I slap the ask, which means I buy at the ask a market order right as a key resistance level is breaking. So let's say Ethereum has a big ask at 200 because it's a psychological number. It's a clear resistance. And there's got 1,000 ETH on 200. And we see it sitting there for a while. It gets chipped away at. People whack the bid and it drops down, and then the bulls make their way back up and chip away. I'm just sitting there with my market order filled out. I am waiting until my order is going to be one of the last ones to hit that ask. And then I know as soon as I enter, that ask is going to disappear. And then we're going to have bull momentum as we fly through that resistance and see a quick initial push right to the upside. I've done that a half dozen times in the past 2 weeks, and it gives instant profit right away. And that's because I have all the momentum at my back. So on these tightening patterns, I don't know where it's going to break. I can't predict the future. I'm not trying to say technical analysis can have you predict the future. Technical analysis tells you what is most likely to happen. So I know that when I get a break of the tightening range, it is most likely that we will see continuation in that direction. So I will patiently wait, and let's see some of them on the way up. We had some equilibrium patterns forming on the way up. Let's get an example here, and then I'll get to Ethereum and Litecoin. But on the way up, there were so many equilibrium patterns that gave clear breaks. Here's a nice one. So a resistance level up here, 2680, 2679.78, 2684. So very clearly we're struggling at this level, and I can just put a resistance line right there and see very clearly the bulls are struggling here. So I will, in this scenario, it's another one where I will look to be one of the last people. If there's a big wall of resistance, one of the last people to hit it, and then you can see the momentum here. So there's our clear break where we see our low, higher low, higher low, higher low, bull break, big bull volume, and then we just run straight up for an hour. Easy gains. If you're getting in with the momentum, you're profitable right on the break, and you don't have to worry, should I take my profit? Where's my stop loss? Or should I take my loss? Because you're profitable right away, and all you have to do is decide where you want, like how much money do you want to lock in here, and scale yourself out on the way up. So waiting until a clear break gives you momentum in that direction, and that is how I'm going to be playing this downtrend, either waiting for clear breaks or playing oversold bounces. The oversold bounces are still consistent, but make note, not only are we dropping to 30 now, we're dropping to 20 consistently. The first dump dropped to 20, the second dump dropped to 20. So that's a shift. Instead of the 30 level being a nice guide, now it's the 20 level, and it's shifting. So I do believe that our top is in. Our temporary bubble has popped. When we dump this fast and do not see a recovery, this recovery is different than the last one. In the last one, we did not drop again like this second time. This did not happen. So this tells me we are more likely to consolidate longer term than the last time. So I know the question I'm going to be getting is, where are we going from here? Where are we going to be in a week? I don't know, but I do know that I am going to be way more cautious than I was on the way up, and I'm going to be way more patient. And there's a lot of people asking me about entering long positions that aren't interested in trading, and I'm going to be looking for something that has played out in the past where we consolidate for about a week before continuation. Maybe we don't get that continuation, but I'm going to patiently wait multiple days while we either trade sideways or start to pull back, and I'm not going to try and rush anything. I do believe we will consolidate for a while. Maybe this is the top. This could be the top that we see for the next 2 months. I don't know that, but I will take it one day at a time and shift my analysis depending on what happens. So here we've got Ethereum, and we have the same pattern because it is so strongly correlated to Bitcoin. But what we were watching was the low of the dump, the high of the bounce, higher low, lower high. And here's what I was pointing out on Bitcoin, where we were just so tight, so straight across that we know a break is imminent. Do I know if the bulls are going to break or the bears? I don't. I would put an order filled out and ready if the bulls break, and I know to get in because I'm looking at this resistance. 194.88, so I might round to 195 there just because that's where a lot of people put their shares because of the psychological level. And after that, we didn't get over that level. 194.67, 194.67, 78, 80, didn't break that resistance, so I never pressed the enter the trade button because we didn't break that level. If we had, and I pressed to enter the trade, I would have gotten in right at 195, and then I would have been looking up for a move to 197.50 and 198.50, these other two resistances. But we ended up getting a bear break, and this was an example where Bitcoin made the bear break. I went into the chat room, I said, caution, Bitcoin breaking bearish, and then I flipped over to ETH just in time to watch this move start playing out. There was absolutely a slight lag time, and then we saw an all-out dump and a bounce. So this bounce does have some decent momentum to it, and I actually might have just missed a trade I was looking at, but that's all good. It was actually this trade right here, 180 acting as support, holding multiple times in a row, our initial high of the bounce, and then our lower high. And then as soon as we broke this level of 182.94, that showed bullish momentum. We saw increasing bull volume, and that would have been a decent move to the upside. Can't get them all. There's plenty of trading opportunity. I'm trading probably half a dozen trades a day at least. And we're watching now to see, can the bulls break this level? And we have a tightening pattern still. Even though we broke a few resistance levels and broke that initial tightening pattern, we still have another one. And I can draw some trend lines to help me visualize things, but I like the price levels more than trend lines. This is just to help me visualize when a break is closing in on happening. But I'm making sure no real bodies of the candlesticks close below. And again, check out the YouTube channel. I got free videos on how to draw trend lines. But I've got a downtrend resistance and an uptrend support and a tightening range. So I know we can't fit in here too long. I know that a break is imminent sometime in the next, maybe 2 hours at the most. And I will be watching for that break. If we break the downtrend resistance, I'll be inclined to take a bullish position. And if we break the uptrend support, I'll know the bears are in full control. And that will add just another point in favor of longer term multiple day consolidation as we head back down towards the low of the dump. So daily time frame for Ethereum, same thing, bearish reversal candlestick. Get rid of all of these lines. So bearish reversal candlestick, watching for consolidation. There's a wide range. We're going to see an inside bar on the daily time frame most likely today with a tightening range, declining volume, and that's that's that pattern, that higher low, lower high pattern on the shorter term time frames is visualized by an inside bar on a more macro scale. So looking for consolidation and looking for trading opportunity while I wait, but I'm going to be a lot quicker on my trades because I'm now trading counter to the trend. I do believe the bears are shifting to take the short-term trend in their favor. So LTC, same thing. We had the high of the bounce, the low of the pullback, trading straight across, clear bear break, and now the bulls are trying to see upside. And look at, you can draw pretty much the exact same trend. So I almost don't even need to give analysis for all these individual names. I just need to give analysis for Bitcoin, and the way that we are currently trading, these names are going to follow. So let's clear up some of these lines, but I've got the same tightening pattern, and we'll be watching for a break of this pattern. And we can look at it on different time frames. There's all kinds of different ways that we can look at it. The 15-minute chart. I like the 5-minute chart just because it's more detailed, and I can use the real bodies of the candlesticks to draw my trend lines. And there we go, watching for this break, and we'll probably make a trade if it's a bull break before the end of the night. And I'm looking forward to getting some sleep tonight because, again, I don't feel like I'm going to miss out on any crazy breakouts. So I guess that's that. And again, webinar Monday. Comment in on when it should be. And feel free to ask me any questions. There we go. Ask me questions that you want me to cover on the webinar so I can be a bit more prepared. All of this is on the fly. I'm just freestyling here. Don't really lay out my thoughts. I always have more things I want to talk about. But ask me questions, and I'll do that. Thanks again. Have a great night.